No, it may not be the news that New York Jets fans want to hear, but there may be a path, a scenario in which Aaron Rodgers returns to the New York Jets in 2025. I'm Glenn Naughton with Jet Nation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. This isn't something I'm saying that I want. Let me make that clear right off the bat. I think you move on from Aaron Rodgers, you take the $49 million cap hit, and you move on with your life. And I've said a few times, look, the reason I'm putting this out there is because sometimes I like to try to poke holes in my own logic and, sort of sit there and think, how sound is my thought process on this? And my thought process right now, me personally, is you cut Aaron Rodgers now and move on. You do not risk the massive $63 million cap hit, dead cap hit you would be facing next year if Aaron Rodgers would have come back and play and then retire, or you move on then. You're looking at a $63 million cap hit. I don't want that. So that's my thought process is you move on, and Aaron Rodgers, the failed experiment is over. However, as bad as he's played this year, here's how Aaron Rodgers could end up with the New York Jets again next season. First and foremost, there is a world in which he is the best option. I mean, if ownership demands of the new general manager, let's get the best. Let's end this, the longest playoff drought in North American sports. Right? If Woody Johnson says we're going to try to win right away, like, hey, new GM, we have enough talent here to win some games. We've seen the Jets are now 0-7, 0 wins, 7 losses in 1-score games. You don't think a good coaching staff can fix that? You don't think a good coaching staff, if you get the right guy, can flip 1 score, give up 1 less field goal, score 1 more touchdown a game, and all of a sudden, listen, folks, we're not talking about turning around the Rich Kotite Jets. We're not talking about turning around the Adam Gase Jets. We're talking about a team that has 7 losses by a score or by a touchdown or less. So Woody could, like it or not, be thinking the right staff could win if they have a good quarterback. Now, we can talk about how good Aaron Rodgers is or isn't right now, but is he not the best option if? So there are some ifs here, and I've shared these ideas with a friend or two this morning. And they say, oh, Glenn, that's a lot of ifs. That's a lot of things to happen. But in my mind, and by all means, jump in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, comment below. This will be a short one. Here are the ifs. If the Jets aren't picking in the top 2, I don't see that happening. You got Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. Those are your day 1 starters. Right now, the Giants and Raiders, both need a quarterback just as badly as the Jets do. They're picking 1 and 2. They're not trading down. The Jets probably, like it or not, are probably beating the Jaguars on Sunday. I'm not predicting any wins for this team, but because it would be bad for them, the Jets probably beat the Jaguars this Sunday, putting them at 4 wins, 2 wins ahead of the Giants, and it's not happening. The Jets are not picking 1 and 2. So you're not getting Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, who are the guys you can say, well, if you draft them, you start over, you let Rodgers go, you move on. Okay, so the draft route, not realistic. How many teams are willing to trade a legitimate starting quarterback, a credible, legitimate starter? It rarely happens. Aaron Rodgers, how'd that work out? Now look, if you want to be crazy over aggressive and give up multiple 1s and 2s for a sort of above average quarterback somewhere, maybe a guy sort of almost at an upper tier. I don't see a new GM walking in the door and doing that, unloading a ton of premium draft capital right off the bat. So you're probably not trading for a starter. So you're not drafting a starter. You're not going to be trading for a starter. And Aaron Rodgers wants to play next year. Well, if Aaron Rodgers wants to play next year, what does Aaron Rodgers need? He needs a team that wants him next year. Keep in mind, when Aaron Rodgers was on the trade block a couple of years ago, only the Jets wanted him. Nobody else called. All the fake sources, the fake reports, there's other teams that are going to outbid the Jets. The 49ers are going to... Please never listen to that guy. Pardon me. So you've got the 49ers never making a bid on Rodgers. It was the Jets and only the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is now 2 years on from nobody wanting him. He's more injured, more broken down, and nowhere near the player he was when he was available for trade. So he's gotten significantly worse. The market for Aaron Rodgers, a guy who wants to play, is going to be very, very, very small. Perhaps just one team, that same team that was the one team that was willing to trade for him. So what would have to happen? The path that I can see here to Aaron Rodgers returning is the Jets being faced with the reality of not being able to get a better option, and Aaron Rodgers coming to the reality that if he wants to continue playing, he is going to have to take a massive pay cut. And if that's something that both sides agree to, and the Jets say, we're willing to bring you back at a dramatically reduced contract, and we're going to draft Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe or Quinn Ewers or somebody like that by either trading up and grabbing him with the 31st or 32nd pick or grabbing the best quarterback on the board with their second rounder. And then you have a guy, hell, you could even let that guy compete with Rodgers if Rodgers takes that big pay cut. But there is no, in my mind, the Rodgers pay cut is what's essential. You can't bring him back and face a $60-some million cap hit in a couple of years. So then it comes down to how badly does Aaron Rodgers want to play? He can say, yeah, I want to play again. Okay, well, you took a $35 million pay cut when you got here. Are you willing to take another $30 million pay cut? I would imagine he would say no to that. But if he feels his legacy is important enough and he wants to go out on a higher note, give himself a chance to come back and play well, maybe he does it. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But my whole point is, only because I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, there is no way in hell Aaron Rodgers is back. It cannot happen. But then I, again, test my own logic. Well, is it really impossible? Is there really no way he's the better option next season? Is there no world in which week 1 is approaching and the Jets don't have a better option at quarterback? You don't have to like it. Finchy, how you doing, buddy? Hopping out of this one in a hurry. This was just a quick, overview of the Rodgers situation. He wants to play. Jets will need a quarterback. Jets won't be in position to pick one. Teams rarely trade them. It'll take a big pay cut from Aaron Rodgers and allowing the Jets to take another quarterback outside of round 1. Again, maybe you trade up to the back of round 1 to get that to get the 5-year, 5th-year option. So, again, this is not a prediction that it will happen, but I think there is a world where, yes, there are ifs, but I think every single if is far more likely than not. The other one being Jordan Travis. I don't see them handing the team over to Jordan Travis having had 0 NFL snaps. Tyrod Taylor. I've seen people pitch him, you start Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor hasn't started more than 5 games in, 7 years? He's been on IR, I believe, 9 times. 9 times. He plays 3 or 4 times a year and lands on IR regularly. Tyrod Taylor, if you come back with him, then you need to have a backup who, and again, this is assuming Woody wants a playoff push. If Woody is fine with a 2-15 season, then okay, then fine, then Rodgers isn't back. But I think they would like to be in a situation, because you're raising ticket prices again. Ticket prices are going up while you haven't made the playoffs in nearly a decade and a half. That's what it'll be at next year if you don't make the playoffs. So saying to go with Tyrod Taylor, a guy who's probably going to give you at most 5 or 6 starts, who's starting the rest of those games? If the Jets if they're not worried about competing, fine, go with the project and Jordan Travis. Let Jordan Travis be your day 1 starter. So this is all working on the assumption that Woody Johnson wants to bring an end to the playoff drought. But maybe he doesn't. Maybe the new guys come in and say, look, we got to tear it all down. Fans are going to have to live with another, we'll win 2 games this year, 5 games the next year, and then we'll make a playoff push in 3 years. Maybe that's what they sell him on. I don't know. But I'm assuming Woody wants the playoff drought over. I'm assuming Rodgers wants to play, and the Jets want the best available quarterback. Who's going to be a better option than Rodgers in the scenarios that I outlined? Throw it in the chat. Throw it in the comments. give me a follow at JNRadio_Glenn. Follow Dylan Terraman, my co-host at D Terraman, and Chris Schubert at Chris Schubert. We will be live Thursday night to talk about this weekend's loss, and this we'll go more in depth on the Rodgers possibility and what other options would be at quarterback. But I don't think, contradicting myself, having said recently there's no way you bring Rodgers back, I think there's a world where it could happen.